So hey super friends, today's video is going to be just more of a sit down chitty chatting, opening up some Mezco 1/12 collectives, talking about the multiverse, and sharing with you some fellow fan mail. So the first thing I want to do is showcase this piece of artwork from fellow fan, DC super friend, all the way from Dublin, Ireland. His name is Jay. I'm going to read your letter in a second here, Jay. I just want to show people your fabulous artwork. It's the Batman, and he is the Knight. Now, I'm going to hang up Jay's picture. I just want to remind everybody that if you send me any kind of pictures, I'm not going to poke a hole through them with a pin. I'm going to use a clip. I just feel like a clip is a whole lot less damaging than ramming a pin through it. And it also kind of feels like if I was to just jam a pin through something that someone sent me, it would be really disrespectful to their artwork. So I'll always use clips. There you go. Another piece of fabulous artwork on the fellow fan wall. Thank you very much, Jay. I'm going to read your letter now. And the letter saith, "Hey Brad, Jay here from Dublin, Ireland. Big fan of your channel, love your content. I used to be a collector of the Batman animated series figures. I had them all and gave them away to my nieces and nephews as they were growing up. That's actually a good thing. If we don't make sure that there's toys for the kids to play with, then they won't grow up and become adult fans. And really, child fans are the future of the fandom of the stuff that we like now. Right now, Batman Missions line, Wave 1, is all over my Walmart. There's multiples of every single figure, which makes me feel happy because Christmas is coming, which means parents will recognize these characters, Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Joker, right away, and they're going to be flying off those pegs for the Christmas season." Anyway, continuing with the letter. "Moved on to statues and Hot Toys figures. Should have stuck with the toys. Hope you like the picture. Regards, Jay. P.S. Keep up the good work. I'll try. I put my very best into the stuff that I load onto YouTube, and this is more of a passion channel than anything else. So every video that I put up on this channel, none of it's really filler. Even if it's a simple video, I'm still trying to find content that I think that if it interests me, it may interest the viewers as well. So thank you very much for the letter, and thank you very, very much for the picture. It's going to be up there until I got a tidal wave of pictures and postcards, which probably isn't going to happen. It'll remain up there on the fellow fan wall. So the next thing I wanted to do was talk about the Mattel Multiverse figures and how I feel about them while opening up these Mezco 1/12 collective figures. So the video's going to kind of be a little bit all over the place. It'll be more like sitting down with me and having a conversation about stuff, except for you don't really get to say anything except for in the comments section. Let's move Reverse Flash out of the way. Yeah, the Multiverse figures. If you're new to my channel, then you'll notice that the latest videos that I've put up have been Multiverse figures. And I've always been a Mattel guy, at least since the DC Universe Classics. I really, really loved the DC Universe Classics, and it wasn't a perfect line. The DC Universe Classics was an action figure line that absolutely had its share of flaws. Oh, and by the way, this isn't really an action figure review. I've had these sitting in my cupboard for ages. These are old figures, and I'm not going to bother reviewing them because they're not quite old enough and they're not new enough. So I'm just going to open them while I'm talking. But the DC Master License, as handled by Mattel, in my opinion, was handled quite well, at least as far as character selection. Yes, there was some characters that they never gave us, and a lot of us were constantly asking about, like, hey, where's Red Hood? We want a Red Hood, and we want an updated Tim Drake that isn't just a reused red suit of the Tim Drake. There was all kinds of characters that we asked for, and they just never gave us. And the line was riddled with mistakes and sloppy paint, and sometimes half of a wave would be pretty much just reused naked buck parts and other body parts. But it found a really close place to my heart because I was a big Superpowers fan as a kid. And when I discovered the DC Universe Classics, I was like, oh my god, they actually look like Superpowers a little bit, and I got them nostalgic childhood feels from the DC Universe Classics. Get his tornado punch out of there. Another lightning bolt. Oh, that's the silica gel packet. Don't eat those. This is the stand. I don't need to open the stand right now. I do want to point out that this is actually not the bootleg. You can tell the bootleg a mile away because the lightning bolt on the bootleg's chest is usually knackered, and the lightning bolts around his waist don't fit properly. Those are the two big dead giveaways that you've got the bootleg. This is actually the real version of it. I managed to pick it up like, I don't know, 5 months ago for a really reasonable price actually, along with the Reverse Flash, the Zoom. I like this. He looks like he's wearing running shoes, like Nikes on his feet there. Totally looks like he's ready to go run track. Makes sense though. He's a running character, so these are just like running boots. Who would want to run in boots anyway, besides the military? I like these Mezco guys. I do kind of wish that Flash was a bit flashier, brighter red. That would have been cool. And the one thing I do notice is that a lot of these Mezco guys, the heads just seem a little bit big for the body. Not all of them, but that's definitely something that I notice a lot from the Mezco stuff. Pop on the other head. This is what I would consider the Wally West Flash head. I would consider this Barry and this Wally. So that is white eyes. And that one is open eyes, no lenses. Flash seems to suffer from the same thing that Captain Marvel suffers from. That's having the low-hanging crotch. It makes it kind of look like he's wearing jammies instead of a super suit. And lightning accessories, extra hands. Like I said, this isn't really a review video. But yeah, DC Universe Classics very quickly, flaws and all, found a place in my heart. Now, I've been collecting DC superheroes, the ones that were the precursors, and I had some of the Batman figures that came before that. But then when the DC Universe Classics came out, like I said, I was like, oh my god, I have a chance to get a whole pile of characters. But then I didn't buy them for a while. I just let the first wave sit on the pegs. That was so dumb because then I just had to play catch up and pay twice the price for some of those figures. But over time, I managed to collect most of the DC Universe Classics. It was like an obsession of mine for years. And for a time, that's all I had. I had some DC Direct, I had some DC superheroes, and then I had a dump truck full of DC Universe Classics figures. Now, I didn't expect much from Mattel as far as the articulation that I've come to grow to like now. Back then I was just like, oh cool, it's got more articulation points than I'm used to. I mean, I got ankle hinges, I got rotating wrists, I got bicep swivels, I got an ab crunch, I got a spinny waist. I was like, this is cool. I didn't expect anything more. But articulation is like one of those cats that once you let it out of the bag, you can't stuff it back in again. Fast forward to the current Multiverse figures with the newer updated articulation, and it's the child of the DC Universe Classics as far as I'm concerned. Some of the Multiverse figures still used the older articulation, but I think that they are phasing in the new articulation pretty much to every figure. And by the next wave and the wave after that, I'm sure we won't be seeing any of the old articulation, even the ankles. I'm pretty sure they'll all have pivots. I mean, we know the groins are all going to be the ball hinge groins, but it's the ankles and the double jointed knees. The elbows, not so sure about. Not every character gets double jointed elbows, but the standard currently seems to be they're going towards pivots in the ankles, double jointed knees, and ball jointed groins, really focusing on the leg articulation. And some of the characters have neck hinges as well, but not all of them. Where Mattel really seems to be dropping the ball as far as I'm concerned, because I get a little bit less frustrated with articulation than other people, is their actual quality of the figures. That's where I get frustrated. I don't want to receive figures with limbs that are exactly the same. In this case, Jessica Cruz had that problem, Wonder Woman had that problem, and I don't want to receive figures that have paint problems. They shouldn't be leaving the factory. This is the point of the video. The current state of the Mattel Multiverse line is on shaky ground as far as I'm concerned, because collectors like me, we will buy them. And if we find one figure that's kind of messed up every now and then, we'll go, okay, that's just the name of the game of having a mass-produced product. Sometimes things are defective, and then you contact Mattel at customer support, or you buy another one and call it a day. You are never going to find 100% perfect product. But I don't think anyone's really asking for that. Even myself. I think we're all looking for a basic standard of quality. When you pay $20 to $30 for an action figure, you expect the paint to be clean with no scuffs and in the right place. Unlike the Mera eyes, which are off to one side and make her look like a googly-eyed puppet. Unlike the paint scuffs and paint slop that we're seeing quite often on Mattel figures. If a figure has a scuff on it somewhere, or a paint blop, or something in the wrong place, it should not make its way to market. It should be a factory second. But the stuff that actually gets sold to the consumers, there needs to be a quality standard. They have a real quality control issue, something that they really need to deal with, because like I said, I'll keep buying them because I'm a Mattel fan, but a lot of other people will jump ship completely and not buy anything from Mattel. Now I'm going to open up this, and talk about some of the positives, as far as I can see, for the Mattel Multiverse action figure line. So, number one, it seems to me like they've still got the master license because they're making all kinds of figures, all kinds of characters. Mattel obviously still has a good relationship with the folks at DC. I mean, with this wave having Rebirth Wonder Woman, the Build-A-Figure Lex, Vixen, the Ray, and Gotham by Gaslight Batman, that's a pretty eclectic mix of characters. And then for the next wave, the Lobo wave, having a classic Kyle Rayner, obviously Lobo because it's the Lobo wave, having a Kingdom Come Superman, Kid Flash. I mean, we're dealing with a very eclectic group of figures that Mattel has the rights to make. And I want to see those figures, and I will buy those figures. And as a positive, in many cases, they're making characters that have never been made in 6-inch scale form before, or never been made at least like Kyle Rayner with the level of articulation that he's about to have. The only Kyle Rayner in that suit that we've ever received, they've been DC Direct ones. We got one from the Ed McGuinness style of sculpting, and then we also got one from just a basic comic book accurate. It's an older Kyle Rayner figure. I love the box art for these. It's very, very clean, very, very simple. So the point is, the cast of characters is something that really, really excites me, because most companies that get a DC license, they just have it to do a game or a movie, whereas Mattel can do all kinds of characters. I know a lot of people are like, Hasbro should have that license. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to cover that idea in this video. This discussion is specifically about Mattel and the multiverse. Another positive thing about Mattel with their multiverse figures is that I know that they can do better and they can do well because they've been killing it. For one, there's the movie Aquaman figure. I must confess, I swapped out the heads because I figured this one looked better on there. And I put the one that came on this on my Mezco Aquaman, and it actually looks better on that body. My opinion, always just my opinion. But this Aquaman figure, they killed it with this Aquaman. And same thing with Black Manta. They killed it. Orm looks fantastic. Gotham by Gaslight Batman. He looks fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Build-A-Figure Super Luthor. I love him. I think that they're doing a great job with a lot of these figures and putting out some really excellent looking sculpts. And as far as I'm concerned, this is some of their best work ever on DC properties. Again, my opinion. So moving forward, I guess, thinking of the current state of the Mattel Multiverse line, I think that if they get their paint apps and their articulation and their quality control under wraps, I think they can do some wonderful things. Because not everybody is going to be what I call an action figure snob and be like, well, it's not this super high quality, so it's garbage. No, I think that there's a market for everybody. Some people want the kids stuff, some people want the middle of the road stuff, which is the multiverse, and some people want the really high-end stuff. For me, as long as the figure has been sculpted cleanly and the paint apps are nice and clean and it has all the quality control issues sort of taken care of, I'm fine. I don't need all of my figures to be high-end. To tell you the truth, I would rather have a collection of not high-end figures because for me, a toy is something that you play with and it's supposed to remind you, at least for me, I'm reminded nostalgically of my childhood every time I look at my DC Universe classics. Whereas when I look at something like this, there's a whole different feel to it for me. It's more like, oh, that's a collector piece. That's a good one. When I look at the multiverse, I'm like, I'm 6 years old again, and they don't have to be anything special. I also admit that most of my Multiverse and DC Universe classics don't get taken down for very many pictures, just the occasional comparison. Oh, let's dump out the accessories. Whoa. So Zoom is basically just Flash, same body, just the opposite, of course, because he's reverse Flash. And with the new head sculpt, he only came with one. Hold on, let's get that. Oh, cool. It actually de-blurred for you. Yeah, I like this head sculpt a whole lot. A whole lot. Let's see if I can get them both in focus up there for you. Oh, it did it. Yeah, he's exactly the same as the regular Flash. Just new head, the symbol pointed the other way, but same booties, same suit and everything. I guess the sum of everything I'm trying to say is Mattel is capable of doing some really excellent work when they put the effort into it, as we've already seen. Although fairly recently, in the last few months, they did lay off a bunch of their staff, some of which are actual fans and collectors themselves who were having input and they were on our side fighting for the things that us fellow fans and collectors want to see. in the DC action figure line and they were laid off, what are you going to do? That's like, hey, now your finger's not as much on the pulse for what collectors want. And if they don't put out what collectors actually want, then collectors will revolt and they will refuse to buy the product. And when they refuse to buy the product, that tells Mattel, oh, people don't like these, and then they just stop making them, and that's when we see figures go to the action figure graveyard of never was, never will be. Personally, if that's where Red Hood ends up, I will riot naked in the streets. Seriously, naked, in a billboard, out front of Mattel. We want Red Hood! We want Red Hood! Also, Mattel needs to fix their distribution. And this is a broken record issue that a lot of people have talked about for a long time. Mattel needs to make sure that when a wave of figures comes out, it comes out everywhere at roughly the same time. And they need to have the contract with Walmart that says this is the release date, so this is when we want them on the shelf. And really, it seems to me that one of the reasons why distribution sucks in the case of Toys R Us is that they just didn't bring all this stock out. Because those Parademons, as far as I remember, they were Toys R Us exclusives, and now they're at Five Below. But there's a lot at Five Below. Like, the pegs are loaded with them. That tells me that not all of their stock even made its way onto the pegs at Toys R Us. It was probably still in a warehouse, actually. Why didn't you put those on the pegs during your liquidation sale? Why did they end up at Five Below? Why weren't they put on the pegs in the first place? Point is, Mattel is capable of accomplishing great things. They've already shown that to us by some of the products they've released. They just need to make sure that they put the same kind of time and effort into everything they release as far as QC, attention to detail, and making sure the distribution goes where it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. They've really just got to get their collective arse in gear. I suppose it comes down to respecting the collector. Respect your market, respect the collectors, and the collectors will then respond and buy your product. If you don't respect the collectors, if you don't identify who your market is, and then make a product that is targeted towards what their wants and needs are, then you're bound to fail. In reality, it remains to be seen exactly what side of the fence Mattel is going to fall on. I just find myself hopeful that we're going to see at least 4 more waves of these multiverse figures. At least. After that, honestly, I don't know. They could go the way of the DC icons. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. But as always, I'm sure you're going to have your own opinions, so please respectively feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, because I'd like to hear what you have to say. If you liked this video, found it an interesting sort of rambling waste of time, leave a like on it so I know that you're enjoying the content. Pow the subscribe button, backhand the bell, and I will see you with the next video. Thank you so much for watching, Super Friends, and thank you for the mail. I really appreciate it, Jay. Everyone have an awesome day, and take care.